Hi, welcome to the first installment of the PWR TechCorner. My name is George Dyer, and this week we have two really great guests with us, Jeremy Lehman and Stephen Mead, and they're going to talk about their mobile experience and how they integrate mobile technology into their real estate business to save them time and make them more money. Are clients excited about when you're using technology to close their transaction? Because I went with an agent about 2 weeks ago who was doing the iPad signing for a client for a counteroffer, and the client absolutely loved it. I mean, the client was they were more into the iPad than they were into the property. So has that been your experience? Or
well,
no?
I don't know. In my experience, they don't necessarily get excited, but there seems to be this expectation that we can get the job done right away rather than, I'm sure they'd rather sign right then and there than follow me back to the office or wait until tomorrow until I show up with paperwork or something like that.
Well, it's funny. I've noticed kind of another effect from that, and that is traditionally, when we're signing things, that's been sort of like a big roadblock. I mean, to fax and scan and do all these things, we're actually finding, especially for clients that may have been technologically averse in the past, it's like they skipped over all that. They didn't want to learn how to scan, they didn't want to learn how to fax, but with the iPad, that's something they can jump right into. So I think for a lot of them, it's like relief. It's like now it's something that comes naturally. The technology, it's intuitive on its own. It doesn't require learning and training.
It's not nearly as difficult as it was just a few years ago.
Do you find that clients are interviewing you as an agent for technology, use or savviness or anything like that? I mean, do you come across clients who you think, well, if I wasn't somewhat, technologically savvy in real estate, they probably wouldn't even want me as an agent?
Well, I think there's a new floor. I think it's not so much that they're excited when you are technologically savvy. I think we've reached the point where if you aren't technologically savvy, it's a demerit. It's like, you don't meet my minimum requirements. They think you're an antiquated
You don't
agent.
speak their language.
Exactly.
Well, let's just say in business in general, I think there's this expectation that you have technology that allows you to do your job easier than in the past. And so I think clients have that expectation that you show up with the right tools to get the job done.
Okay, that makes sense.
We, I was going to say too, in Orange County, we have a lot of businesses that are either technology or technology related, and a lot of those employees are today's home buyers and sellers.
Sure.
I mean, we have a number of clients at my firm that are Blizzard employees, and those guys are on computers all day. They have an expectation that you're on that level, and they're disappointed if you aren't.
Okay, so next question is, why is the CRMLS app for Apple and Android so important for an agent's success?
This is a big deal. Mobile MLS technology is allows an agent to be able to look at property info and out in the field on the fly, get everything they need, showing instructions, private remarks on a property immediately. This is something consumers have had for years, and agents haven't had the access to that kind of level of technology for the most part. So it's a long time coming for this sort of thing.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, Jeremy, because something that I know that comes up a lot strategically is this notion that for one of the first times in history, realtors have less information than the consumer. And I feel like the app like this doesn't completely close that gap, but it goes a long way.
Yeah.
So, you can be out in the field, your client may have whatever app they choose to use, and you now have better data like, can we see that? Is it backup? Is it pending? What is the exact status on that property? We now know that, and the consumer doesn't. So I think finally we have in the field, we're on the same playing field.
Well, any agent who's shown homes can share the story of you're showing this house and there's a sign across the street and the client asks, how much is that house, right? And the answer inevitably, if you don't have the MLS in the palm of your hands and you didn't by chance print the entire MLS out before you went and showed property, your answer is, I don't know. Let's call the agent real quick. And sometimes the agent doesn't answer the phone. Or the client, while in the meantime, the client is looking at their mobile app built for them and telling you about that property. What does pending mean, or what does backup mean, or whatever that might be. So as an agent, you need to have that answer, and I've had that experience. And the first time I had that experience, I just thought, oh my goodness, how many times will this buyer allow me not to know about these properties around us before they fire me and find an agent who does know?
I know, I've been in the same boat. And one of the key features in the new CRMless mobile app is that you can literally point your iPad or your phone you can point it at the property and it will pull up, and as you rotate around, it will show you the properties around you with a little thumbnail image, the price, and some important details.
That's
and
a
then you
really
can
cool
click.
feature.
I mean, it's, to me, that's kind of the killer feature of the app.
Yeah, it really is. I agree.
So why are you personally using real estate apps instead of a traditional computer? Because I know, Jeremy, for you, for example, I know that you pretty much iPad and cell phone centric to do everything. But most brokers and agents that I talk to in offices, of course, are still very computer laptop focused. So I guess the question is, why did you switch? How is what you're doing better?
It was it's better because I can do everything I need to do without having to go to, say, an office. So the reason why I switched and why I'm completely mobile and paperless is because my lifestyle, I have 4 kids, I have a busy life, I wear a lot of hats in my industry, and I'm always on the road. I'm driving to an appointment, I'm driving to pick up my kids, I'm just going places. I think most agents that I know don't sit in an office very long, and when we do, it's typically to hammer out a few administrative tasks, but it's not to wait for a call from an agent who's gonna send over an offer so I can print it out, that sort of thing. So it's really a convenience thing, and for me, I've always been passionate about mobile technology because it's just enabled me to do what I need to do when I need to do it, regardless of where I am.
I've noticed something else too, and it's kind of a happy accident related to mobile apps, and that's that when you have a smaller screen size, when you have only a touch-based interface, the people who design these products, they're forced to make their user interface a lot tighter, cleaner, better. I mean, apps eliminate a lot of the features that you don't need. I mean, these things are streamlined in a way that desktop apps just aren't. So I'll even find myself, sometimes it is more comfortable to use the app version of a product because it's just so much of a tighter, more streamlined interface than it is even when I'm in my office.
And what's funny, in the boardroom, Steven would have had his MacBook out like just a couple years ago, and now he's an iPad guy.
Old days.
right. 2 years ago. I'll say a great example of what Steven just said is the DocuSign app. I will, almost 100% of the time go to my iPad to set up DocuSign on a document for my clients, because if you've used the desktop experience and the app experience, the app is so much easier. And this is a great example of how mobile technology has leapfrogged the desktop experience. Now, DocuSign, the website's a fantastic application as well, but the mobile experience is so much faster and easier. And I think if agents really looked at it, they would be able to see the difference.
Are there any trade-offs? I mean, do you find at times, either one of you, that gee, it's difficult to do this in this transaction. Gosh, it would be so much easier if I had a computer. I mean, do you run into those? Because a lot of agents, they don't know which apps to use, and even if even the apps that we recommend sometimes come with their own challenges.
Sure.
Especially now that PDFs are kind of the lay of the land for real estate agents. Of course, it used to be faxes, but are there trade-offs? I mean, do you get frustration sometimes being mobile?
For me, it's the biggest hurdle on a tablet or even on a phone is just a keyboard, right? Typing. That can be cumbersome. Okay. So there are times when I'll get an email from a client that demands a long and thoughtful response. That's not the kind of email I want to write on an iPad or my phone. I do sometimes wait until I get to a computer to return that. But then once again, there's this waiting period, and how long does the client want to wait for that response?
Sure.
So sometimes you overcome that pain just to be able to respond to a client quickly.
I think sometimes too it comes down to picking the right tool for the job. I think that's one of the most important things in technology is not trying to make any one product do everything. And I'm the same way as Jeremy. I am prone to long, thoughtful email responses, and yes, they are still much easier to do on my MacBook. But other than that, I think I had a math teacher in high school, and he said, always know, is it head, pencil and paper, or a calculator? Whatever you're doing, there's one of those tools is going to be the best for you. And I think that's really what understanding technology is. It's picking the right tool for the job.
That is such an engineer response. I know why that resonated with you.
Slide rule or something, yeah.
9th grade geometry.
So where do you guys believe technology is going? So we were in San Francisco about a month or so ago at one of the big shows, and they, of course, were showcasing all kinds of new stuff. So where did you guys glean out of that? Where do you think technology is headed after the apps that we have now? What's next?
Oh wow, that's such an interesting question, because I think there's the things that we can talk about today, but I think probably a good 50% answer to that question is it's things we haven't even heard of yet. Things that pop up where some guy in a garage comes up with an idea, and it changes. Like we heard from this guy who had an app about at the Inman show about hotel rooms, and you think like, oh, hotel room app, that's no big deal, but his app only lets you book hotel rooms for the next 24 hours. So it's only based on, I need a hotel room tonight. That's its single purpose in life. And it's like, I never would have thought of that. And he said, we are 2 clicks to booking a hotel room, 2 taps on your device. I mean, how amazing is that? So there's all the stuff that we can talk about, which Jeremy will probably talk about. But to me, the biggest category is it's the stuff we haven't even heard of. So, keep your eyes open. That's the best thing you can do. Read Inman News, read Real Trends, be engaged in the industry, and that's how you keep up to date.
Well, I think the trend is obviously mobile. I really think almost every agent who's working will be using the MLS on an iPhone or an iPad or some sort of mobile device, I should say. And convenience. I mean, I think Steven nailed it when you're talking about this app. First of all, it's mobile, and A, it's really convenient. Or B, it's really convenient, right? So the idea is that mobile technology has made things a lot more convenient than, say, being at a computer. That we're going to see a bigger trend of that. I definitely see maybe some of the fingerprint technology that's coming out now being used in, say, signatures, maybe for notary aspects. So once again, it's a convenience thing because I won't have to necessarily schedule a notary to show up to something if they're accepting a thumbprint through a thumbprint scanner, and maybe a live camera type of thing. So I think security and just that convenience factor will just continue to evolve, and it'll be all mobile.
Thank you for joining us for this month's Tech Corner. We really appreciate you viewing in to learn more about mobile technology and real estate. This is our first installment. We will be having monthly videos available for you to view, and hopefully this will enhance your real estate business as well.